Yosef, biomechanics, the big thing. So, Jeff, I read through Jeff's. Do you remember which manual it was that he was in? Because he sent me the chapter from Key Movements in Sprinting, Jeff Moyer, chapter
There you go.
5. And so it's
Oh,
chapter 5. Do you remember which one of the seminar books this was in, Jeff? The Key Movements in Sprinting?
I don't. I've written like 6 chapters for Jay. So
Okay.
sorry, man.
No, it's fine. So I wanted to start here for both of you because there's no better where to start. The study of biomechanics for sprinting is finite as the human body hasn't evolved. Only the technology has since the initial studies began. If you don't look back at what has been done, it's hard to move forward. Starting there, what has been done? Why is it getting so messed up? But why are people still interested in it? Because anytime anybody posts about biomechanics and sprinting, it blows up on social media.
it's you, Jeff. Go ahead.
Oh shit. I don't know. Things like to get regurgitated and all of a sudden just a bit of a turn of phrase can all of a sudden ignite something. So people are taking what's already been done and just changing the vernacular a little bit, and it fucking catches fire because now it sounds new and it sounds catchier because their marketing is a bit better. I know, shit, what is the word? There's a track coach out there using a word. I can't think what he calls it. It's it's swing leg retraction, right? But that's not the word he uses. He calls it a phrase, and he has these seminars, courses on that phrase that he got from a prominent biomechanics expert. But really, again, we're talking about late swing phase or early swing phase, or what Dr. Yes has called pawback, which was known about and written about for however many years. Yosef can talk about that, but I don't know. All of a sudden,
at least.
all of a sudden he uses this one coach uses this one phrase, and it just catches fire. And why that is, I have no idea. But yeah, that's just, I don't know. For me, a lot of it's just marketing, to be honest with you.
So the issue is, number one, biomechanics in sports in the United States. Like Justin, I think the last time we talked, like we were talking about the performance field, it doesn't exist, right? We think it does, but it doesn't, because who's studying high level athletes at the university level or even medium level athletes? Nobody. There's nothing controlled going on there, and no one has definitely not made 1 inch of progress since 1991 in the United States on any new information, right? So then, if that's the case, what are we doing in the United States biomechanics-wise? This is bastardized terribly, because I can't tell you how many times I've heard someone say, well, we got to work on my mechanics. With who? And with what information? Work on your mechanics as if it's just some simple, rudimentary, repeatable thing that's cookie cutter, whatever it is. I'm waiting for the first person that actually knows biomechanics to teach the mechanics, but we act like it's like a known thing, and we talk about it all the time. You'll hear it in track and field all the time. We got to work on their mechanics. Okay, with what information? Who's put out information in the United States at a high level that wasn't duplicating something the Russians had already done or done?
So that would be my question: is what would Doc say right now if he was living and seeing in this 2000? I mean, right now it's December 2024. What would he be saying
without the curse words?
I was gonna
Either way, you just tell us what he would say so we can learn. Like, what would he say?
Exactly what he would say. They're a bunch
Yep.
of idiots who have no idea what they're doing and never have and never will, probably. That's about what that, give or take. I mean, I might have missed a few things, but yeah. He had no regard for anybody in the United States. Nobody.
Now, my question here is, what is new that we need to fix? Is there something outside of the framework? Like, because I'm referencing the Bernstein with the hammer, and like, there's only one way to swing the hammer. So is there new, like, I guess it's hard to say what's new that needs to be fixed, because it's like, oh, where are my keys? I can't find my keys. But if you don't know that you need to fix something, like, this might be a bad question that I'm asking. But is there even anything, have we is there something so wrong with sprinting that we need to fix it biomechanically? Like, what needs to be new and done is my question that I've kind of fumbled over for the last 30 seconds.
I don't know if there's anything new or done. I mean, from just a little bit of stuff I've studied with Doc and the Russian stuff from the Soviet sports reviews that he put out, they had a lot of stuff fucking figured out. They knew the muscles that fatigued first when sprinting and caused the biggest change in mechanics. They knew, the role. I mean, right now, isometrics are popular and run specific isometrics are popular, and they're a great tool, but like doing stuff for the feet and ankles was known and that was talked about. I literally have an research article from Zatsiorsky's lab in 1981 talking about the importance of the foot and the ankle and being able to transmit force into the ground. And all of a sudden, I don't even know what year it was, the 2-mass model comes out and people are like, oh my God, the foot, we got to start doing stuff now for the feet. And it's like, I don't know, we're just not doing our homework. And again, Yosef can probably touch on this better than me, but from my interpretations and getting to talk to the experts that Yosef is friendly with and stuff, it's always nothing new. It's, can we just come up with better specialized exercises?
That's what I was. Okay, I'm
right?
glad you said that, because that was going to
that's
be
just
my
my
question.
opinion. I could be wrong, but from a biomechanics standpoint, like we have it understood. Now let's come up with better ways to train it, I guess, if there is better. But anyways.
Yeah. So and you're talking related to sprinting, right, Justin?
Yeah.
So if you're talking about that, number one, I do like a comment that Bob Alejo made. I think he's made it multiple times. You tell me what it is, and I'll tell you what we used to call it.
Yep.
Right? Look, there's nothing new under the sun. Nothing. There's nothing new that any American has put out. Now, there might be some little information on a subject matter. I think Brian's maybe getting into some new areas with the velocity stuff. But in terms of conceptual, real principle-related stuff, there's nothing new. So we're fooling ourselves, and it sounds sexy. And the reason why is pigs don't know pigs stink. You know what I mean? If none of us know anything about something and one of us acts like we do, we all like, okay, well, hey, that sounds great. That's cool, the biomechanics stuff. But nobody asked the obvious question. Where did it come from? Where did the information come from? Who did the research? Who established it? And who's the biomechanist that's the world's expert? Because in the United States, there isn't one. I mean, who would it be? That's
So my
really,
question then would
really done groundbreaking work.
And so going back to that was, do we need, like, if it's kind of been tested and we haven't found, and it's like, hey, the Russians got it right, do we then need to just be better at applying it? How does that then need to work? Like, how do we solve the quote unquote biomechanical problem in the United States or everywhere?
I think the biggest lowest hanging fruit and the biggest way that would give the most return on investment would be learning, number one, the specialized exercises that would be applied to sprinting. Looking at the actions, looking at the exercises, because there's not a lot of new information on biomechanics. It is what it is, right? It's limited, it's finite. So if that's the case, then
get CEUs faster, cheaper, and more convenient than ever before with Strength Coach Network. Hey, it's Justin, here to tell you about how Strength Coach Network can now help you out with our premium membership and CEUs to the NSCA and CSCCa. Upon signing up for our premium membership, you will get 2.0 or 10 CEUs immediately. That is an entire year's worth of CEUs that you are able to access from the convenience of your office. No traveling for conferences, no waiting on flights, no eating out, no expensive hotels. Just the good stuff from great coaches. Now, if you need extra CEUs for past years during the reporting period, we can bundle Fundamentals 1 or 2, which also come with 2.0 or 10 CEUs to your purchase. That way, you're able to take care of your CEUs for the best price, most convenient, and learn from some of the best coaches. If you want more help with this, email us at service@strengthcoachnetwork or visit us at strengthcoachnetwork.com, and I would be delighted to help you out.
Do we have we exhausted all exercise selections that may help us with that? And I think, largely yes. There might be a few things, that would be left unturned yet as far as exercise selection with sprinting. But for the most part, I think we got most of it. Here's the question is this, and I think this is where the most return on investment can be made, is how do we apply them? And then over time, how do we transition from a general exercise kind of dominant template to one that gradually moves over into a specialized template, as the athlete gets, more proficient. And the other thing is then once we learn how to apply them, with low intensity, like the 1x20, for example, which will allow for the technique to become more ingrained in the neuromuscular system, right, in the nervous system. That's going to be a critical component, because if you want the technique to improve, the best way, in my opinion, is applying the exercises in a really, low intensity way, repetitively, over and over again, for a good stretch of time. You'll start to see the running technique improve without you giving any actual, cues or teaching to the athlete on that. Does it negate the value of the other one? I think the other one becomes increasingly more valuable as the athlete becomes at a higher level. Then more feedback from the coach becomes more valuable, right? Because now you're looking at small little things, and you're only talking hundredths of a second that you're trying to get. And the other thing, the last piece would be, when you're using the specialized exercises, how many different types of variety of contractions could we use with those exercises? And that would be, and how do they get sequenced and placed out, right? So you could use, I'll give you a couple of ideas on it. So you could say, like, for example, the paw back that he just mentioned, you could use that with, bands, and then you could use it with a weight stack, and those are just concentric there, right? Then you could also use them with, now they have ones where you can put bands on a weight stack to combine that kind of contraction, make it, like a hybrid. And then I know that the eccentrics that Marco Pozzo put together, you can add random perturbations, vibration over the top of them. You can use, what's a K-box? You can use that pulley where they accentuate the eccentric. I mean, there's a bunch of different, and then you can make those exercises plyometric too, right? So the contraction, scale, the spectrum can be quite a bit. So you can gain a lot of value, not only out of applying them at a low intensity, then a higher intensity, and then the highest intensity, which would probably be around 80%. And then once you get up to that level and you start being in different phases, then you're, kind of looking at maybe different ways putting the contractions together, right? And so that would be the way that I would recommend it. It starts getting into the weeds a little bit, but then the contractions would kind of mirror the phase that you're in. Does that make sense?
It does. Do you remember a period of time, because I do, the period of time where strength and conditioning coaches kind of wanted to get rid of the whip from the hip or the paw back like that?
Yeah.
There was definitely a period of time. I want to say it was 2008, 9, 10, where I had at least heard hey, get rid of the paw back. There is no paw back. Do you remember that time?
Yeah, I kind of do. I think I remember hearing 05, 06 ish, maybe was when I would hear some of that from guys at the the pro level, NFL level, and they were saying the technique stuff is kind of not needed or overrated, or whatever the case. You know what I mean? So that was, I do remember that, and it just got sexy again just in the last like what, 3 or 4 years maybe? Does that sound
Yeah,
right?
Jeff has talked about that before, where like it got really popular,
Yeah.
and then like Jeff, do you think that being around some college kids and talking to them when you have them back in your facility, do you think specialized exercises either get bastardized or don't use because of outside of the big schools, not every school might not have a lot of room to be able to or equipment to do specialized exercises?
Um, I mean, I'm talking generalities here, disrespect to anyone. I don't know if the coaches have the knowledge to apply them, and the programming to do it, and then also the technical know-how on how to apply them properly. I mean, there are coaches, Yosef and I have worked with college coaches and stuff. Ryan Bracious was at Wisconsin Whitewater for however many years with their football program, and he was applying it sometimes not properly, but he was still applying. He was trying, you know, uh, so like doing it, and that's, I don't know. I don't know. I guess I'm so far removed from the college level now that I don't know what kind of the mindset is. But when I was there, it was all about just strength, 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 strength. I was a West Side guy, so that's what we did. But yeah, I don't know. I just don't think enough coaches honestly have the knowledge, and that's not a disrespect to them. It's just I don't think it's taught to what they're for and how to apply them and get the transfer of training.
What would you say? Because so we've had a coach on. I'm not taking a shot at Will. So Will, when I talk about this right now, he had said that he rejects dynamic correspondence, and I had never heard somebody say that before.
Oh,
How essentially Will was saying you don't need to do those type of exercises, especially specialized exercises. You need to just get strong generally in the weight room and play your sport. So again, you guys can connect with Will. I can connect you. Again, we're not trying to talk negatively. Like, how do you explain dynamic correspondence to somebody that would say that they don't agree with it or whatnot? I don't know.
Yep.
it's simply a matter of getting more juice from the squeeze. It's really all it is. Like, and I think everybody has to remember that when the concepts that emerged from the Soviet Union during that time, they emerged because of a need, not because they were flying off in 100 different directions like we do here. So here in the United States, people fly off in all different directions with all kinds of cockamamie ideas, and nobody has any results to show for it, though, right? Like, who's blowing you away right now in college sports? Who's just getting a result that nobody can believe? Nobody is. I don't even follow college sports, and I know that. So the question is, I'm trying to think of the best way to explain it. So in the 70s, they were using primarily general movements. Let's say 60s. 60s is almost exclusively general strength, right? And then in the 70s, they started to recognize the need for specialization. And then they it was like an 80-20 split.
Hold on, I got that. Don't worry. Keep going.
Okay. So I'm hearing myself on an echo.
You're good.
Okay. So then it went into they thought the 80s, and they thought that, okay, now we're going to transition a little bit more, and it kind of went more towards the specialized side. Here's the key. The athlete at the college level can get better, with general stuff, moderately. But here's the problem.
What's up, everybody? Taking a quick break from the show to talk about one of our sponsors, TeamBuildr. I've been using TeamBuildr since 2019 when I was at Towson. I still use it with my remote athletes. I also use it at Goldfinch, which is the private sector gym I train at, and we use it at Centennial, which is the high school that I'm working at. Now, if you're printing on lift cards because you say, oh, I can't afford TeamBuildr, Guess what? TeamBuildr has a pre-written grant that you can locate on their website. You simply change the name of you, your organization, and the areas that they highlighted, and they can help you get TeamBuildr at your facility, your university, whatever it is, so that way you can optimize how you train your athletes with this software. Now, TeamBuildr is also a part owner in the Plyomat. The Plyomat is something that I utilize at Goldfinch, and it helps you be able to see how high somebody jumped, the ground contact time, and RSI. You can get all that conveniently right there. You can reach out to your rep from TeamBuildr to be able to get more information on the Plyomat. It's fast, it's reliable, it's convenient, and it's trusted by coaches worldwide. Check them out as well as TeamBuildr in the link down below.
The coaches don't know that they could get a better result than what they're getting. So they don't see the need, where the Russians saw the need because they wanted to dominate in the Olympics. And they had competition they were getting measured up against, right? So they wanted to win everything. So they saw in the 70s, okay, we're doing pretty good in some areas, but in other areas we're not. So that's where the specialization started from. But it came out of a need. And so did block periodization. People think block periodization came out of nowhere. That was a need. The regular, the classical one was working up to a point, and then it stopped. Here's the problem. Will, and no disrespect at all, he's never got him up to the point where it was a need. Right? Now, he could get more results if he implemented it earlier, but he hasn't run into the need the same way that the Russians did. So he doesn't, or at least he doesn't see it that way, because what's he measuring? How is he measuring success? Right? If the guys get stronger in the squat, the bench, the power clean, and he calls that success, then he's right. But if he says, I want our team to be faster than everybody in the country, now you got a different question. Because I'm presuming that he doesn't have the fastest team in the country.
Yeah, and he was working with team sport athletes in America, and like you said, what is the measure of success for that now? Like that's where the waters start to get muddied on. How are we measuring success? Within the world of our performance, right?
It's really muddy and very difficult for multiple reasons. One, the education is subpar for performance. So for kinesiology or exercise science, I'm sure it's okay. But for performance at the higher level, it doesn't even exist. Right? That's your number one problem. Number two, strength and conditioning coaches, a lot of times, are powerlifters. And they kind of revert back to what's natural to them. Because if you ask a strength coach, why did they get into the field? It's because they want to share their passion with someone else. Right? They're highly valued. And the average sport coach doesn't know the difference. The other big problem, even if you have a coach who knows what he's doing, his sport coach doesn't. And his sport coach doesn't care.
No.
And he will fire you if you try to defy what he wants done, right? And I just had this conversation in the last couple of days with an athlete, and the parent called me and said, hey, my son wants to wrestle, but he's training too, and it doesn't seem like he's going to improve. It's too much going on there. And what I said is, and I think what needs to be heard by the coaches is everything doesn't exist in a vacuum. Everything affects each other. So if you're tired from yesterday's practice, today's training session is not going to be phenomenal. So you can't just expect to get results in any kind of way you want to. And what's the other thing is, this is rudimentary, but this is an issue too. They're not letting the athlete sleep enough. If you got to work out at 6 o'clock in the morning, I can guarantee you the kid didn't go to bed at 10 o'clock the night before. No shot. So if you're training at 6, you're running not only the risk of injury, but you're also, really dampening performance. So you got a lot of things going on there. Because if a kid comes into me, I can tell right away. We'll do like one or two jumps. Normally the first jump. And if it's not better than the last time we trained, I know something happened. So I say, how much did you sleep? What did you eat? Did you eat before the workout? Did you work out yesterday with the team? Different things. I'm looking at it because if we're not improving every workout, something's wrong.
About the specialized exercises, Jeff, you had asked this before in the forum of Strength Coach Network, like, and he was talking about how soon to put on the Lilas or whatnot. Like, what have you found within that because you've been continuing to use them, and you're the one that asked the question, like, what have you, realized?
With those tools specifically, those things kill two birds with one stone. Now, whether Yosef agrees that they should be used in the time that they are, or if they're more the cherry on top and they should be weight, matter of opinion, but it kills, like I said, two birds with one stone. So it improves the technical proficiency of the athlete's mechanics without me having to say anything, which is, the ultimate goal of what we're doing. And then two, it also improves the power output of it. So, for instance, again, the pull back, we'll just specifically talk about that, or the swing leg retraction. So all of a sudden I can get better casting of the shin and better foot placement with it, as far as where their foot lands, without having to do wicket runs or without having to do all this other stuff. And it's as simple as wearing a 200, 100 gram little weight and just placing it, in a very specific place for that athlete, and only doing a couple sprints, not doing a lot. Those are a great tool, but you also get that, and Yosef can attest to this, to a lot of Dr. Yes's specialized exercises. So a lot of times I like to contrast those, where we'll go run, we'll come in, we'll do some knee drives, we'll do some pawbacks, and then we'll go back outside and have them run. And they say they just feel so much better. And for me, that phrase is worth its weight in gold for me. Like that is, oh, that feels better. Oh, that feels really good. Like, those are phrases that I love to hear, man. That's the shit that, that gets me going, because I know that I'm doing something right. So a lot of times I like to use, whether it's the Lilas or Doc's specialized exercises, and do a lot of contrast with it, because those things really, again, they improve mechanics, and they improve the physical abilities in the mechanics in such an efficient manner that it's stupid that they're not used more often or understood better.
They are just a different type of specialized exercise, no?
The Lilas specifically, yes. I would, yeah. Now they're doing the specific movements of their sport while just wearing light loads. So, whether we're loading the thighs or loading the calves or loading the vest or the chest or whatever we're doing, load the problem. But, they're classified as specialized exercises, but
The only place I ever disagreed, by the way, the weighted clothing's been around forever. That's not a new idea. It's been around 50, 60, 70 years, however long. So, Yuri was doing little hand-drawn pictures of it in his first articles in the 60s. So it's not a new idea. There's a little bit of a different idea on, I have the Lila, by the way. I have the setup for my son. The thing I like about it is the way the neoprene really is connected to the skin, so it doesn't move away from the skin. That's an important issue, because if you're walking with ankle weights on it, and every time your foot lands, the weights keep moving, right? It's the same thing with this. You'd like them to be really tight. I do like the way they attach onto the shorts or whatever it is. I like that too. The weight. And the only place where him and I disagreed a little bit was how important was the actual placement. The main principle was it needs to be as proximal to the needs to be placed near the proximal joint instead of distal, because that could create an issue biomechanically. Otherwise, I absolutely agree. That would be what, for example, if you had the weighted shorts on and you're playing basketball, that would be Bondarchuk's competitive exercise, because you're doing it under a slightly different demand, right? And it allows
Sorry
for
to interrupt.
specific skills. Yeah, go ahead.
That would be competitive exercise, not a S. That wouldn't be an SDE because you have weighted on, so it's a little bit slower. Therefore, it's not as fast as the actual thing. That's why it would be considered CE.
Here's why. Here's the best way that you can think about it. Heavier and lighter hammers, he calls competitive exercises, right?
Really? Okay.
So the shorts are just heavier and lighter U.
Yeah. Okay.
That's it. I mean, literally, it's just like if you have a heavier and lighter baseball that you throw, football that you throw, hammer, and then for people in team sports or sprinting, it's the shorts. And here's the other thing that he didn't mention that is also a part of the puzzle.
What's up, everybody? Taking a quick break from the show to talk about one of our sponsors, Hawkin Dynamics. I've been using Hawkin Dynamics ever since I was at Towson. Still utilize it today when I'm at the private sector at Goldfinch. Even brought the plates from Goldfinch over to Centennial to do some force plate testing with the football team there. We've done force plate testing with other high school athletes. It is something that you need to get. If you want more help with it about how to practically use it and you want to reach out to us, feel free to reach out to us at service@strengthcoachnetwork.com. Not only do I utilize it with lower body assessments, I use it with upper body assessments, plyo push-ups, prone Y assessments. You can also utilize it for what I call an upper body isometric mid-thigh pull, where essentially you're doing a push-up at the strongest range and you're pushing into an immovable force, so a barbell, same way you do an isometric mid-thigh pull. Like I said, been using them for years. Valid, reliable. The customer service is fantastic. Go check out Hawkin Dynamic in the link down below, and you will not be disappointed.
The shorts and all of the different weighted clothing for whatever you might be using it for are usable year round, really, right? There's times where you could use them. Let's say it's soccer or basketball, for example. You could wear them as a conditioning tool, like when you're getting ready for the season and you want to slightly change the amount of force they've got to exert. And that part is the cherry on the sundae of the conditioning component, right? That'll allow them to be in better shape because they're under slightly more difficult circumstances that the brain isn't really perceiving it super well. So it's adjusting, right? Kind of unknowingly, if you will. The other thing is, it's just like when Doc with Todd Marinovich, he had them make different footballs that were slightly heavier and lighter, right? And then him and I also did it with basketballs. So now what you're doing is you're also being able to develop an overspeed component that is safe and not. And here's the beauty of it. This is an overspeed component that's exactly what you're going to do, right? So you couldn't create an overspeed movement for a cutting action in football. You can't, it's really hard to do, right? But you could do it with the shorts on because you could wear the shorts for a while, take them off, go back out and continue. Yeah. Now the brain doesn't remember, the body's been faked out. It doesn't know what you did, right? Yeah. And now it's still firing with the same force it was with the shorts on. And now it's learning a faster movement. And you can do that with sprinting. You can go out and run 240s with the shorts on, take them off, and go out and run 2 more. And you might see, or you could even just do 1 and 1, and you might see the second one being faster just because of the higher force development. So there's a couple of different things there. And I think it's very applicable to every sport. I think it's a great idea. And I think that, if you know what you're doing with them and you apply them wisely, they have a great amount of value. The only place where I ever had, not an issue, but I'm just like, look, as long as the weights are closer to the proximal joint, that's the biggest issue. You don't want, like, if you have the shorts on, you don't want the weights down by the knees. That's not good. Because number one, that's not the joint that it should be stressing to begin with. It should be stressing the hip joint, right? So you want them there. Doc always said, he said, the further away they get away from the joint,